4, 3, 2.
Hello and welcome back to Anything in Standby, the podcast where we completely disregard big Tier 3 events and our performance in them in favor of testing duels over Discord. I am once again joined by my lovely co-host, Austin. Austin, say hi.
Bro did not say hi.
He just threw up the peace sign. And then Alan. Alan, say hi.
Yo, what's good? Welcome back to the pod.
And celebrity guest star and team member, and the only other video on our channel as of this recording, Sarkis. Sarkis, say something.
You know how it is, you know what to do.
Put your hands together for literally Poseidon, everyone. Literally Poseidon is here.
The wettest boy has entered the arena.
Yo, hold up. Whoa.
What?
I already know what the thumbnail is going to be. It's going to be my contact information for Poseidon.
Oh my god.
It's going to be him on the statue.
The worst thing to come out of Vegas.
I don't know about that, but great segue. You're a podcast regular now. So we're recording this the week after we all got back from Vegas. YCS Vegas just happened a week ago, and we have two teams here in the chat. I guess let's start with the Debbie Downers. Austin and Alan, how was your YCS Vegas experience?
Debbie Downers. Yeah, how was it?
Alan was team lead, so I'm going to let him take the lead on this one.
I mean, overall, it was a really fun event. It was really cool getting to play. It was my first YCS and first team YCS, so being in a team environment was really fun. Having people to like bounce off ideas, and we found out like midway in the tournament, like you could talk to all your teammates because we our gracious B player Nico convinced us otherwise, that we could only talk to like I could only talk to like A can only talk to B and C can only talk to B, but apparently that's all a bunch of BS. But that's okay. We found that out like in our second to last round. But yeah, it was fun. Unfortunately, due to unseen circumstances, we started with a round one loss.
No. Call it what it is. We didn't just start with a round one loss. We got dropped. First thing walking into the event. We weren't even... They were like, who are you? We were like, we signed up. They're like, you also got dropped. Call it what it is.
Easy. Maybe you should have showed up on time.
That is crazy.
No,
that
that's
is
true,
crazy,
though. That's true, though.
Yeah, true. All right, Austin. What was your take on the event?
Well, I'd love to say it was a great event through and through, and that I had a really great time, and I really enjoyed the team environment. But the actuality is, I fucking crashed out harder than I think I've ever crashed out at a Yu-Gi-Oh event before, and I put the fear of God into my opponent during the last-minute qualifiers. So,
yeah, but you didn't lose a single game, right? The whole day.
I plead the fifth.
Man.
Why'd you have to say it like that?
How did your guys' actual like main event go as a team? Like, when did you guys drop? Like, obviously you guys didn't win it, but like, what was the tournament experience like for you guys?
It was really rough. I'm not gonna lie. The first two, our actual first round, we got blown out of the water. Our B player Nico Baka, like, love the guy to death, but his ego got even fatter after him performing the best out of the three of us on our team. And I mean, good for him. Love the guy to death. But our record was X2, X2-2 after round 6. So we won 2 rounds, lost 2 rounds, technically only lost 1, and then drew 2 rounds. But I could have definitely won that draw and pushed it to play 1 more round, but we're also really burnt for the day. But yeah, overall, like, I think we still played pretty good as a team. And I would do it again. I still think it was pretty fun.
Cool.
Yeah. I think all in all, the start to it really set the tone for how the rest of the day was going to go. I think under different circumstances, having a different start might have yielded different results, but it's neither here nor there. Ultimately, it is what it is.
Yeah. I guess Sarkis and I will speak to our performance and our
B
experience.
Team.
Yeah, the B team that was outperforming the A team for a majority of the time.
No, because we're going to get to a phenomenal part of everybody's Vegas experience, where the B team almost got a straight up DQ.
Do we want to talk about that on the
Oh
podcast?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Are we talking about that?
They're
Oh,
never
Konami
gonna.
going after us.
I'm a firm believer that Konami does not care about us peons enough to track us down and ban us.
About Resurgence
Alright.
YGO's YouTube channel? What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey man, if you want to talk about it, you want to talk about it. All I know is Alan Trong, Austin Limke, and Nico Baca were not a part of this at all. Just
We'll get to that. So, starting off, the reason that we all had a round one loss and a drop was one of the members of our group. We're not going to name any names.
Right.
Everybody's innocent until proven guilty.
Of course.
But they definitely they were
this way.
trying to fight Vegas, and Vegas got some hands. And
Five
let's just
Vegas,
say-
Vegas one.
let's just say I had to wear sunglasses the entire day. I was hungover as shit. Like I looked disheveled. But we had I had Sarkis as my C team member, and then we had our buddy Sunny as our A team member, and I mean we just didn't give a shit. We were just playing. We were having a good time. Yeah, and I won a majority of my matches. I think I only lost one match overall the entire day. But Sonny let us down. He couldn't clutch up when he needed to. I think he lost 4 matches overall. I don't know what happened to the boy, but he didn't even drink. So yeah.
Didn't even drink.
I have, exactly. I have excuses of activating cold bind in perm zones and stuff like that because
Excuses.
I was still like at least 7 out of 10 drunk at this point. So, but Sarkis, how was your experience? Because unlike the A team, we like barely talk to each other in our matches. Except to like show off rarity to each other.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, throughout the day, we met a lot of people at the event. There were a lot of Euro vendors there, so we swapped a lot of cards in there. So through the first round, I think, when I was siding out my Harpy's Feather Duster into my list, I quickly went to Caleb, and this was one of the 3 things I said to him the entire event during our matches. I was like, yo, you like how this art looks? 0 for ultimate. That's it. And then he said, dude, it looked beautiful. I'm like, thanks, coach. I appreciate that. And that's it. I don't think I asked this man for one piece of advice the entire time, outside of comments.
I like leaned over. I was like, yo, let me see your graveyard. And then he like fanned his graveyard, and I was like, damn, that looks nice over there.
I'm like, thanks for the pickup boost, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. But no, it was fun. Sunny, Caleb, and I, we really came in with just a vibe out mindset, kind of just a no give a fuck. We were just there to vibe. So it was great. We had a lot of fun. We met a lot of great people in our matches as well. I think for the most part, I won every single match outside of the one that I drew or ones that I lost after the other 2 have lost. So ones that didn't necessarily matter, but I probably would have lost anyway. But yeah, overall it was cool. I haven't really picked up Yu-Gi-Oh! In a minute. So going into this event, I'm glad that my team wasn't taking it as seriously as the other team that is featured here. But yeah, we had a lot of fun though. So always good to vibe.
Yeah, and just because it is a bannable offense and everything, we won't go too much into our last round and the controversy that occurred. But let's just say that we were in Vegas, we rolled some dice, and
It could potentially have been misconstrued for win trading. In some people's eyes, because it happened in the vicinity of cards that were used to play a certain game, people might have mistaken it for win trading. It certainly was not, all right? Because nobody on Resurgence YGO engages in illicit activities like win trading.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
But when
not.
in Vegas, the dice going to be rolling.
Like it's craps in the back alley and you're playing for a 5th of Henny, the dice will roll.
Dice will roll.
As dice will roll, we're gonna keep it rolling. What's your guys' favorite memory of Vegas?
And this man is a transitioner. Nah, bro. Favorite memory of Vegas for sure for me was at the event. I think I met 5 different YouTubers from Triff, MSC.TV, Simo, MBT, Nimnim. So it was cool seeing all of them. I know some people here got some stuff signed, so I'll let them deal with that. But seeing a lot of pro players, people that I knew in the community that I've either looked up to in the past, especially Jeff Jones, my favorite pro player of all time. So just seeing that type of presence at an event, something I've never experienced before. So that was really cool.
Mm. Yeah. What about you, Austin?
Favorite memory from the event or favorite memory from Vegas?
The event. The event.
Specifically the
This is not
event.
a vlog.
Yeah, specifically the event. So kind of like Poseidon himself said, Jeff Jones, favorite player of all time, and I really had the unique opportunity to have Jeff Jones sign collector's rare Dormouse while he was going into top 8. So sitting outside of the VIP area, checking with the judges to make sure, and then having him sign it and him being very excited to sign it was just like a peak memory. He's been a favorite for a long, long time, so just enjoying that was really cool, and having that with me. So
Nice, nice. Alan, what about you?
Favorite part, honestly, yeah, just being in that environment honestly felt kind of surreal. Like, cause we watch all these like pro players and all these Yugi tubers, and like in reality, sometimes you think like, I mean, I still think as a team we're all pretty good at the game, but then you get to see these people who literally do this for a living, and I think it's really cool to be in the same space as them. So that I thought just being in that type of environment makes me more competitive, makes me want to go to more YCSs and like just keep grinding and just keep playing this game. Because it's like even though we didn't do so well, I know everyone on our team was like, "Damn, we want to go to more YCSs," and we just want to be here. Like just being in that environment was like really fun. Also did a lot of cool Euro swaps. Got a card signed. Sarkis got a card signed for me by the 2024 world champion Ruben, so that was really cool. Keep that in my binder, and then got I played mouse like a little bit, but I got the entire deck in German. Got some German birds.
Hell yeah.
Euro snake cards, so cool. How about Caleb?
Honestly, I don't remember too much about playing that day. I don't know what it was.
I don't know what it was.
you were just in such a flow state.
I won every single mirror or Ryziel mirror match that I played. And I had like 12 games. Like I had 4 games at YCS Vegas and 8 games before that, and I that is all the Ryziel experience I had, and I beat every single Ryziel player I played against. Outside of that, I still did have a good time, even though like even going into Saturday, I was telling everybody like I just want to lose, drop, and go drink pina coladas by a pool. So even then, I had a decent time, and it's gotten me back into wanting to play paper again, and not just like research cards all day. So, I mean, if you've never been to a YCS, you need to go at some point. It's a whole other experience. It's different from a regional setting. It's different from your locals. It's just a genuinely fun time, and everybody is there for the love of the game, not necessarily to win. I mean, you have people that are there to cosplay, people that are there to do vending, and it's just a whole other atmosphere than anything else you can experience in Yu-Gi-Oh. So, but. Moving right along from our experiences, the meta has kind of evolved, and we've seen that firsthand at YCS Vegas. This is the first event that Maze Master has been legal. So notably, you had the Tachyon stuff or the new Galaxy stuff. You had 7th Tachyon specifically, and then you had the Odeon stuff. And was there any standouts that you guys saw this weekend, personally, or just in research after the event?
I feel like low key, like everyone who plays Ryziel, like pure Ryziel now, or even like just the Tachyon cards, like finds them like kind of underwhelming, to be honest. Like no one like okay to be fair, with the grain of salt, even in like during the tournament and post tournament, I think I've only seen 7 Tachyon at our locals once, and it was a Shark player. He wasn't even playing Ryze, he was playing Sharks. So, I don't know. Maybe I played like a lot of Ryze matches too at YCS Vegas, and I didn't see it once. So I guess I'm not the best to give a take on it, but I feel like it's just like, it's a good card, but it's not like, it's essentially a slightly better Small World, in a sense, or a different version of Small World. So I think Ryzel's going to do Ryzel things, and it's still going to be consistent, but beatable.
Yeah. I do. I think that Seventh Tachyon has definitely put a different twist on Ryziel because while before the tournament, Pure Ryziel was still picking up steam and becoming the de facto best version of the deck. I think that now with Seventh Tachyon giving it a much needed consistency boost. I mean, we saw it. Like Top Cut was dominated by Ryziel, and part of that is the fact that now it's so much more consistent. And I don't remember the exact statistic. I know 2/3 of top 16 or top 48 players in the room were on Ryziel, but I don't remember the breakdown between Fiendsmith and Pure. But I remember, or I know that there was a lot of Pure going on, and there was some interesting choices with it too. Obviously, they had the light target to search their X and Ice. They had a light fairy for Lancia, but then a lot of them are also playing Ragna Zero in their extra deck to search out surfacing big jaws. And I think that that's really crazy. I'm sure that Sarkis has some thoughts about the future proofing of Bahamut Shark and Toad because of that. But yeah, a lot of Ryziel players are now because surfacing big jaws acts as a good extender or play starter. You can just like insulate your plays with a Toad, or just get going with Duo Drive right off the bat without even committing your normal summon. If you open Bonfire or Seventh Tachyon, or I mean, fucking Cold Buy if you want too. So yeah, I think that there's some interesting stuff going on with Ryziel. And you know, I listened to Jesse Cotton, who ended up winning the event. Him, Dominic, and Michael. I'm forgetting his last name off the top of my head, but they were the team that ultimately won, and they played two Pure, and then Jesse Cotton was playing Fiendsmith. But hearing what they were talking about with like in terms of what the final like end board is for Pure Ryziel now is absolutely scary. I mean, it's like you have the Duo Drive, the Cross, the Detonator, a totally awesome, and then the Galaxy Photon Dragon to protect against targeting, and that's just terrifying. So, but another kind of unique thing about this tournament is Malice seems to have fallen kind of off a cliff. Not in terms of like it didn't go very far, but it lost a lot of its significance in Top Cut specifically. And Austin, I want to turn to you as our resident Malice player, who's been on the deck for longer than any of us. Why do you think that is with in regards to Malice and its representation in Top Cut?
It's a good question. I mean, besides the elephant in the room being a searchable Lancia via 7th Tachyon, I think really what you're running into is there's so much variety in the deck that it doesn't necessarily have like a mainstay version or playability combo that secures it against the variety that you're going to come across in Top Cut. I mean, between Blue Eyes, Prime-Eye Blue Eyes, between Ryziel, Fiendsmith, and Ryziel Pure, you kind of have to play in a different way against any one of those, and necessarily just the Malice itself, it may not be enough, and so you're running into a situation of maybe your deck is catered to combat one of those Top Cut representatives, but not all of them. As you know, again, kind of what the big premise is that Malice is a very combo heavy deck, one of the most combo, if not the most combo heavy deck aside from Mermail in the meta right now. Shout out to Jeff Jones' team, they making the top 8. But ultimately, when you have a deck that has to cover all via Shifter, via Metal Tronus against maybe 4 or 5 different varieties of decks that are going to be apparent in the Top Cut, I think you just run into an issue of you just can't cover all the bases, and then that again coupled with the fact that Lancia is now searchable target, let alone the fact that Lancia is just extremely prevalent across 100% of the side decks. I think that's just how it is right now. I think this ban list will be a huge shift. I don't suspect a Lancia hit, but I would love to see like kind of what the TCG decides to do in terms of but it with the big set releasing at the end of the month, it'll be interesting to see whether Malice kind of predicts or kind of takes the predominant first place as it did in OCG post ban list or post Alliance Insight. So it'll just be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a unique perspective, and I think it really takes somebody that has played Malice for a while to really understand where the faults in that deck are, because sitting across from it and watching it combo off and jerk itself off for 25 minutes in a game one scenario, like you're like, how can this deck not do anything except like unless you Lancia them? But I think that perspective of just like that doesn't have enough coverall for the meta entirely. It's tough. And yeah. And then Sarkis, I do want to turn to you a little bit as the person that's probably played Mermail the longest out of anybody else on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
Why are we seeing a resurgence in that deck? And that's not just for YCS Vegas, but like in general, you're seeing a lot more people give respect to Mermail, a lot of people talking about it, and we're seeing it in Top Cuts as well. It has been consistently, like, if not third, it's definitely tied for third best deck in the format after Blue Eyes. And I just want to get your thoughts on like how Mermail is shaping up into the meta, as well as like if like it's going to be in a good spot, if like Ryziel gets hit or things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think starting off, throughout history of Yu-Gi-Oh!, even when Mermail hasn't been good, I think it's just one of those decks and archetypes that has such a core fan base and is so big within the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. There's always some type of showing with Mermails, even if it's not in Top Cut. So the fact that Konami recognized that and decided to actually release the most custom of support that I've ever seen in my life in Rhoda as well as Suda, I think the support really propelled Mermail to gain a lot of popularity within competitive Yu-Gi-Oh players rather than just people playing casually or for fun. I think a lot of the deck does struggle. Like the reason why it's maybe not number 2 or number 3 does come down to somewhat of like consistency issues in relation to how strong meta decks are with one card starters. But it being able to compete has just made it, like you said, maybe 4th best deck of the format at worst, or at best. But yeah, I don't know. I think the deck can be super competitive. It topped a lot of EU YCSs. I think it actually did it win an event in EU as well, if I'm not wrong.
I believe the other 3v3, I want to say in El Salvador, I want to say,
Yes,
but I could be thinking about coffee or something like that. But
no, you're right.
Yeah, it had two Mermail decks. And
2 out of 3, yeah.
Yeah.
So they did really well. I know here in Salem, Oregon, there was a Mermailist that got 3rd, and that player was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Deck profiles in this YouTube channel, by the way, if you guys want to watch.
Do you know that players by name by chance? I know the Mermail community is pretty tight.
I forgot how it was pronounced, but I think it's spelled Goat. So you can just look them up, and the picture will pop up.
Pronounced Michael, right? Goat, pronounced Michael. Okay.
He's such a goat. He has to combat all the wannabe Mermail players in the comments defending his deck theory.
Yeah.
You know how it is. But yeah, I will say, I think out of all the meta decks that I played a lot of them online, I've tried a little bit, especially today with some Malice. I think still Mermail is one of the best decks to pilot. It's so much fun being able to combo off. It enables so many different types of gameplay that is a lot of unfun for your opponent. Spamming toads so your opponent can't play, looking at your opponent's hand with Deep Sea Minstrel and taking out things that they want to play with, or discarding cards to the grave that we'll get to here in a second about cards that might be banned, but just being able to hand loop, Omni negates left and right. You can summon Dweller against them. You can do whatever you want with the deck. If you want to go Synchro, XYZ, Link Spam, it's really all up to you. So I think that's why it still has remained popularity and why we're seeing a little bit of a resurgence in the YG community.
And I think it's imperative to say as well, I think Mermail probably has the best turn 1 setup, like completely blind out of any deck in the format. Like, if left on deck, wishes that he could do the things that Neptibus could.
Mm-hmm. 100% agree.
Yeah. So, kind of wrapping up Vegas, and moving on. What do you guys perceive the meta to be looking like going forward? Is Vegas a good representation in that Ryziel is now a tier 0 threat, or do you think that it's more of new toy syndrome with 7th Tachyon? Where do you guys see the meta progressing until the inevitable ban list or meta shakeup?
I mean, let's continue with Sarkis. I mean, what are your thoughts as somebody who's not necessarily playing like the number 1 or number 2 deck? Like, based off your
Yeah.
experience, what felt the most oppressive? What do you think will continue to be the most prevalent?
I don't think this is necessarily the strongest deck, but I think it's easier to pilot than other decks, and that is Rizal. Any variation. I think any rank 4 toolbox has been probably the most consistently popular deck throughout Yu-Gi-Oh history, from Tellers to Constellars to really just anything, even like variations of Fire King back in the day, or Fire Fist, I should say. Like anything like that has just always been so relevant. And with Fiendsmith Rizal being a thing, maybe not after this ban list, but I don't know. I just don't see a world where Dweller is legal, Detonator is legal, and Duo is legal, and that not being the most represented deck in the room whatsoever, especially with how many hand traps can be ran. And like you said about Seven Tachyon and Searching Lancia and all that, I mean, is there a better answer to Malice than that? So, yeah, I got to go with that.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, Austin, what do you think of the meta going forward?
Yeah, I'd love to say that Ryzeal is going to stay the predominant option. Unfortunately, the reality is, even with Tachyon, 7 Tachyon coming out, there's just not enough time or not enough events to really establish Ryzeal in that way. I know we have YCS Houston coming up. We probably have a series of regionals finishing up for this season. But ultimately, between the turnover time between 7 Tachyon releasing a ban list and then the inevitable release of Alliance Insight means that the meta really is going to change significantly between here and the end of April. With now, whether that falls in the way of on the side of the fence of either Ryzeal or Malice, I think that's really anyone's guess. Historically, especially recently, TCG has shown that it's TCG has shown that it's not necessarily following exactly suit what OCG is doing in terms of ban lists. So I don't think we can predict. I mean, we'll give our predictions this time, I'm sure, but I don't think we can really 100% say which way the hammer's going to fall. Few of us are expecting a Lancia hit. Even as a Malice player, as much as I would love that, I just don't see that being a possibility. So with Alliance Insight coming out, Lancia still being a prominent option, I think that Malice kind of can go either way. I don't see any kind of significant hit happening to Ryzeal just because of that. So it'll be tough to say. I can't give a solid answer just yet, but I would say it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. And Alan, what do you think of the meta going forward?
I think it's pretty like it's in a spot where it's like pretty predictable. I feel like I don't think until at least Alliance Insight, which is what
April,
even sooner. So I think this meta is just a quick lull before Alliance Insight. So I think Alliance Insight will. Honestly, I think push. Also, depending on the ban list, right? If the ban list kind of does like very minor hits, I think it'll be essentially in the same spot, but maybe having Malice be a little stronger because I think the Malice support is crazy.
A little,
but yeah,
he said a little.
Oh yeah, just a little.
Just a little.
Yeah. I'm saying that so Konami doesn't touch them on the list because I'm a Malice player now too. So, but yeah, I think Ryzeal is good, Malice is good, Mermail is good, Blue Eyes is mid.
Loki, that Blue Eyes board kind of strong though. I'm not gonna lie.
Blue Eyes got hands or what? Oh, what's like? It's like
I'm not gonna lie. Normal Summon Neptune still clears it out. It's a cool board.
But yeah, I think the meta is. I'm ready for a shakeup, and I think the TCG is ready for a shakeup.
Without a doubt.
Anybody have any? Speaking of the ban list, do you want to go over potential ban cards?
Yeah. I think the best way to go about this is instead of us just putting out our wish lists and hoping for the best. I think we go over kind of like the big front runners, and then discuss some stuff, and then maybe figure out like what some maybe dark horse theories are on it. So obviously, going into ban list season, the big talking point is the last April ban list was very small. There were 3 cards that were banned, maybe 4, but Notably, it was Borload Savage Dragon, Baron the Floor, Baron DeFleur, and then not anti spell, Sun and Limit, as well as anti spell going to 1. And so there's a lot of people theorizing that this could also be a small ban list. We are still in the shadow of no Fiendsmith reprints, as well as Ryziel and Malice still being relatively new. They've only been out for 4 months or so. So I guess just starting off, do you guys see this as a slaughter list, or do you see this as more of a controlling the outliers?
I'll speak on this first because I think what the game needs versus what the players want is very different. What the game needs is a slaughter list. We need something substantial. The game is not stagnant, but it is going to start reaching a power scaling level where it is cyclical. And I think that the varieties and strategies that we're going to see in the future are going to be very iterative and not innovative of what we have now, just because of the power scaling in the game. So I think a slaughter list or something to establish a huge differential between what we can expect in the future versus what we have established now is necessary. Now, what the players want is something that kind of I think would probably keeps the status quo. I think a lot of people have enough comfort in what is considered meta right now between the Blue Eyes, the Ryziel, the Malice, the Mermail. I think there's enough there. The Crystron, and then the forthcoming Orcust. I think that is enough to keep the players infatuated with it, but I don't think that's what the game needs for its longevity.
Fair. Alan, Sarkis, do you guys have anything to add as far as if you think that we should be looking for a slaughter list, or if it's just going to be kind of tightening the reins, or what do you guys think?
I know, for me at least, I am a strong believer that everyone that thinks we're getting more than 10 cards on the ban list at all is very optimistic. I don't think that's happening whatsoever. I think people are stupid as hell. I think this list will be 3 cards max regarding the meta, and I think we might be getting maybe 3 cards off the list, and that's it. We're going to have an 8-card ban list total. We might see an X or an Ice or maybe a main deck Mouse Monster go to 1 or something just enough to make them kind of cry but not really have any tears come out, And that's pretty much it. And if they hit Mermails, I think people are delusional. Mermails ain't getting touched. If they ban Will and Glacier or Minstrel, hey, I'm still winning no matter what, but I don't think that deck needs to get hit. I think there are a lot bigger issues, and I don't think Konami are going to address any of them. But that's just how I feel.
Fair.
For me, I think, as much as I also think I am in the same sentiment with Austin, that I think the game is in need of a slaughter list. I think a slaughter list is... Yes, I agree that the Malice and the Ryziel strategies have been out for not that long, but I feel like Konami's made their bread off it already. There's not so much they can push, except for the Malice support coming out. So I think there is some problem cards that will be banned in my eyes. So I think maybe 3 to 5 cards on the ban list, maybe 3 to 5 in the semi-limited and limited, and then maybe 1 or 2 or 3 off. I think that's probably going to decide. So it's not nothing crazy, but I would like a bigger list, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Fair. I tend to disagree. I think that I don't think that we're getting a slaughter list by any stretch of the imagination, but we know from the past that Konami TCG likes to push new product, and they worry about their bottom dollar before they worry about the health of the game. And in most cases, they're able to balance it pretty well. But they just released this huge cash cow in the form of Blue Eyes. And you're already seeing a Lordly Load reprint and stuff like that to facilitate things like that. And they know for a fact all these Yugi boomers are going to be coming back to the game because of Blue Eyes. And with it being the 3rd best deck, 4th best deck, barely relevant to the meta, just kind of on the fringes of play. I think that they are going to do enough on this ban list to facilitate that deck being, if not the best deck, at least in the running for best deck. And I think we're going to see hits on the ban list that facilitate that, because it just doesn't make sense financially for them to introduce a fan favorite archetype and then it showing promise without being good. And I guess that kind of leads us into ban list discussion itself. So, right off the bat, talking about some bans, I think a lot of people are looking at the lingering floodgates. I'm talking Lancia, I'm talking Dweller, Dimensional Shifter. Realistically, are we seeing any of these cards hit on this ban list? I'll go back to Austin for this one.
Yeah, so just speaking on I'll give a brief run over just all the lingering floodgates. So, talking Lancia, as a mouse player, the deck is just too strong. I think that there's enough meta competency that you cannot facilitate letting a deck like Malice go without having something substantial to stop it. There's no ban to Lancia, no limiting to Lancia in the OCG. I don't think we see anything like that here. Talking about things like Shifter, as a Malice player, I would love to see a Shifter semi. Today we just saw a Shifter limit, so I think that would be good. And I think in terms of things like Dweller, needs to go, should have been gone by now. Dweller has always been a prominent card. Now, whether it's been in the meta based off of rank 4 or of rank 4 toolbox deck being in the meta, I think is the big thing. But other than that, like Dweller's just too prominent. It shuts off decks completely, so we just need to get rid of that. And then Droll and Lockbird being kind of like that teetering floodgate. It does enough to shut out some of the competent or the meta contingent card or meta contingent decks, but I don't think it does enough to be considered oppressive as much as like Shifter would be. So I think we don't see anything to that. Maybe if they want to push the Ryziel reprints or just push Ryziel a little bit more and Blue Eyes like you were talking, maybe we see a semi-limit, but I don't think we see anything substantial.
Fair. Sarkis as the resident lingering floodgate hater. Actually, I don't know what your stance is on it, but I know that it hurts your deck a lot. But how do you feel about the lingering floodgates? Do you realistically see them getting hit on this ban list?
I think they are only good for the game because the game has gotten to a point where power scaling and power creep has gotten so ridiculous that there's nothing else to keep them in check. Even cards like Skill Drain or Macrocosmos aren't going to see play because they're just 5 turns too late, and they're a trap card. So I think they're quote-unquote necessary for the game, but absolutely should not be in the game like in any way or shape or form, because I just think the game needs to somehow get power crept back, but that's just not going to happen. That being said, though, when Dweller is a card that is good in a format, it is so oppressive and so one-sided that it becomes unhealthy for the game. I didn't play in tier limit format, but I've heard of stories where, hey, you summon Dweller, you win. You just shake your hand and move on,
Right.
And even though we're not in a Dweller-heavy format right now, I don't think a card like Dweller should exist in the game. So I think it should have been banned, who knows, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, That being said, I think same thing applies to Shifter. If you are in a format where Shifter is good, it's unplayable and it just ruins a gaming experience. I know, coming from Mermails, there's just one card in my deck that I play 3 of, and if I see that card, I can play through Shifter. If I don't, I go to game 2. And I think things like that just make any card game horrible, and most card games have either dealt with those cards or don't print those types of cards, and I think that's healthy. So from Magic to Hearthstone, I don't know much about Pokemon, but at least for those 2 card games, anything that turn skips is either a ridiculous combo that you have to commit multiple resources and multiple terms to achieve, and then you win the game through turn skips, or they are already banned and they came out when the game initially came out. So I don't know. I don't really fuck with like Shifter. Lancia is different in my opinion because Lancia is a targeted deck. Banish, like it's targeted towards Malice on its own, but even Lancia, I still feel things like that should not be in the game. But cards getting banished and not being allowed to be banished versus your entire graveyard being non-existent with Dweller or Shifter, I think there's like levels to it. So I think if something should get banned, it should be Shifter first, maybe Dweller second, because Ryziel is a rank 4 toolbox, best deck in the format, and then just go from there. And this is also similar as to why I think Maxi should never come back. It's just another lingering floodgate. It just plays into everything, so yeah.
Fair. Alan, as our resident Maxi enjoyer, how do you feel about lingering floodgates?
Lingering floodgates are I don't know. It's like a necessary evil because Sarkos just said the game is too like. If a game lasts more than turn 4, honestly, that's pretty cool nowadays. Like you actually
That's a
get to
grind
play.
fest.
No, that's a grind. Like
You're
isn't
going
that kind
into
of
time
sad?
game 1.
No. Like think about it. Think about it. Games used to go to like turn 10 on every match or every game, but now literally the turns are decided within the first like 2 to 3, like even 4. You're like, man, that was a long game. Like, and it's the game has been power cut to the point where that's just how it is. And like, I trust me. I would like for everyone to be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh and have their deck do what each deck wants to do. But going first is just too broken. It's just too broken. So we need floodgates. That granted, some floodgates are way too broken, like we've been talking about Dweller this entire time. The one thing with Dweller also is it literally only says your opponent. Lancia says both players can't banish. Shifter says both graveyards get affected. Lancia, your opponent. Like what? Like it's just insane. Like I think that part of it is why that one. If none of the other lingering floodgates gets banned besides Dweller, I think that's okay. Especially like we've been talking about, when it's good, it's too good, and I think it's long overdue. That's my sense.
To add on to that too, for Dweller, you don't have to hard draw it to use it.
True.
You just have to play a rank 4 deck, and every rank 4 deck can make a rank 4 without any issue, right? And also, if you have a card like Detonator face up on the board, most times your opponent can't even kill the Dweller, so you just get to use it again without committing any resources. So, just another added surplus.
Yeah. I think Dweller is definitely a numero uno problem as far as lingering floodgates go. I even don't think that's necessarily good in rank 4 spam metas. Like Sarkis alluded to earlier, Tier Element made points to play enough level 4 monsters to make Dweller against opposing Tier Element decks. And that deck is a fusion-based deck. So I think when Dweller is good, it's oppressive. And we've seen that since its printing in Abyss Rising back in 2013. That card has come in and out of metas enough that it probably needs to go. And we've seen, and we'll get to kind of OCG stuff a little bit later, but we've seen OCG get rid of it a year ago or so. And it's obviously Konami understands that's now a problem. You know, what used to be like, okay, I'm going against Mermail, let me play the anti-Mermail card, is now turned into like this oppressive force that beats a lot of decks. I mean, you're seeing it in this meta specifically. The only thing that it really doesn't hit is Malice, and even then, like you see Ryziel players make it to out like Druis Worms and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's crazy. As a rule, I really hate cards that make it so one player does not get to play the game, and that's why I think Droll is okay. Is like you get one search, you get one draw, and then you get drolled out of the game. But if your deck is being degenerate enough to lose to Droll, okay, you probably don't need to be playing the game anyway. But things like Lancia, Dweller, Shifter that are locking specific decks completely out of the meta. Even if I don't think that they will get hit, in cases like Lancia, they deserve to be hit. This isn't the first time Lancia has been good. It completely shuts Ritual Beast out of the game, completely shuts Infernoid out of the game, and now Malice is just the newest deck that it's a silver bullet against. Shifter has been a problem since it came out, and there were decks that were legitimately good just because they could play Shifter. And you know that's a problem too. And another thing with Dweller specifically, I know this is kind of a Dweller hate fest, but Detonator controls pretty much the entire board. So if you are setting up a Detonator plus a Dweller, not only are you locking down the board where anything that activates on the field is now susceptible to getting popped by Detonator, but now you're also looking at Dweller, where now you can't even play out of your graveyard. Where there are decks that might actually be able to play out of their graveyard and beat a Ryziel board, now they can't because they just aren't allowed to play with any of the cards. Once they're in the graveyard, they may as well be banished. They might as well be back in your trade binder because they're fucking useless at that point. Yeah. So, I think that those are kind of like the big banned predictions that people are throwing around. Do you guys know of any other like fringe kind of banned cards people are throwing around? I guess there's the mermail cards. People are talking about Glacia or Toad or Minstrel. I know Sarkis is going to have some thoughts on that, but I'll throw it back to Austin again. Where do you land on maybe some of those cards getting hit?
Yeah, so I mean, outside of the realm of the floodgates, I think there are a few outlier cards that have existed for a little bit, that or longer even, that maybe now need to be addressed just for the integrity of the game. So to go back to the Mermail comment, yeah, I think we're looking at cards like Mullen Glacier. I think we're looking at cards like Deep Sea Minstrel. You've mentioned off screen previously that Deep Sea Minstrel is a card that not only gives you hand knowledge, allows you to hand rip, sustains not only information about in a blind game state what your opponent's playing, manipulation of the hand, but also can facilitate some in-engine combos that'll lead to like less desirable things. Deep Sea Minstrel, one being the biggest facilitator of the newly attuned barrier statue lock that's going on in Mermails, and I think that needs to be addressed. And the way you address that, not necessarily banishing the barrier statue, but just getting rid of Minstrel, right? And then that'll lead into kind of what we were talking about, what Sarkis had said about committing floodgates through multiple turns or multiple a lot of resources. I think you're looking at cards like Mullen Glacia. Again, information, hand rips, Konami, previously stated by Caleb. Konami not being a big fan of hand rip effects. Shout out my boy Gumblar, free Gumblar. And then to get outside of the realm of water monsters, I think we're looking at cards like Metaltronus. Not in the game state for very long, but a card that definitely facilitates, I think, an unhealthy interaction in the game, right? You're looking at a card that is good going first or second, a card that has a permanent effect negation, which can be very, very oppressive. I think a card that allows for optional banishing of a card, but speaking specifically about the Malice archetype, you have a card that if your opponent ends on a less than stellar board, they're looking at typically Link 2, possibly, if you're talking even Crystron, having a one-off oddity where you can Metaltronus, and that gets you to three-fourths of the way to a full combo in a Malice archetype, right? If you're going second, you hit a Tristaros, you already have a Haggard Lizardos on board. That means all you need is a normal summon. Boom, you have full combo. If you are playing against a Blue Ice player, they're less optimal board, they end with a SP or a Spheres, boom, you're already halfway to a full combo. So I think having a card like that, which is it's odd because the card facilitates so much in one archetype, but is so one-sided in the way that it's played. I think that's a bit much. So I'd love to see a limit or a ban on a card like that. Other than that, I mean, maybe if I'm being hopeful, some sort of hit to Dominus Impulse. Great card. I think it's a great card. I think the limitations the card has is good, but I think in the current meta state, just having a card that's so oppressive in that way is just a bit much. So
fair. Sarkis, where do you land on some of the But I know you said that no matter what Mermail hit comes your way, you're gonna persevere. But if they were looking at hitting Mermail on this list, what do you think is the most meaningful hit to stop some of the degeneracy that's going on?
Well, there's a difference between killing the deck and answering what players want to happen, because the deck isn't performing necessarily, right? If you look at Top Cut for any like actual big YCS event, you might see a Mermail or two, but it's still 99% Rizal, Fiendsmith, whatever, Malice. So I think the player base is annoyed from cards like Minstrel and Mullen Glacia. Understandably so, losing your hand in any card game sucks ass. But that being said, the deck isn't necessarily so overpowering where cards that are core to the deck need to get hit, like something like Atlantean Dragoons. If Dragoons got limited, the deck would suffer a lot worse. Or if something got banned, like a Neptibus or Shadow Squad for whatever reason, the deck might be dead, right? But it just hasn't come to that point. If Mermail had like a 30% showing in Top Cut, I think Konami would be more aggressive. But at this point, it's just people are annoyed, people are a little mad, and are a little frustrated, and that's the only reason why I'd see Konami hitting the deck at all. So,
Do you,
if yeah,
do you think that the reason that Mermail is still on the fringes is because Dweller exists? Do you think that if we are to believe that Dweller is getting banned, that that's not the boost that Mermail needs to become tier 1?
um, I don't know, to be honest. I feel like if Dweller does get banned, it would enable a lot, but I don't think it would be the end all be all. I think it would enable a lot of very good players to actually take Mermail seriously, and I think Mermails would then go to the next level. Because I still think at the current state, Mermails can easily compete with Dweller. It's mainly Shifter that's a real issue.
Yeah.
Because with just one Dweller, the new support that came out in Mermails, you can play through that no problem. But if it's a Dweller plus 3 hand traps, Dweller plus Detonator, then it's an issue, especially if you don't have board breakers. But I don't know. I've always said this, that if enough people picked up the deck that are good at the game, the deck would be blown into oblivion in popularity and win rate, as well as on the ban list.
Yeah.
There are so many cards in Mermail that I feel have been broken for very, very, very long time, like Mulan Glacia and like Minstrel. And if Minstrel, for example, was a generic card that didn't need to discard a water, that card probably would have never even been printed, let alone at 3, you know?
For sure.
So, yeah, I think it's mainly just that. There's a lot of people that don't care enough to try Mermails out or just know how strong Fiendsmith and Rizal are. And that's really the main reason why we're not seeing more of a showing.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. Alan, do you have anything to add on this point?
No, I think we've kind of already talked a lot about the ban cards.
Yeah. I think that the last couple cards that I think need talked about as far as ban cards go are the Fiendsmith stuff. Not necessarily. I don't think anybody in this call is thinking that we're going to see an engraver ban, but there's a lot of talk in the community about Moon of the Closed Heaven, Evil Swarm Excite Night, kind of these bridges that get to the Fiendsmith stuff. Where do you guys land on that? Do you think that is worth hitting the splashability, especially of Fiendsmith, or do you think that the cards themselves need to be hit? Like, where do you guys land? Austin, I'll start with you since you're the earliest one to talk.
I don't necessarily have much input here. I think that I speak for a lot of players when I say that the Fiendsmith stuff feels generally healthy for the deck. The Fiendsmith stuff in name, right? When you start getting outside of the Fiendsmith stuff and what it can enable in the form of like High Wave King Caesar, or even to some degree just being as flexible as it is, I think that's where the issue arises. When you start getting to a high wave King Caesar, then you're kind of maybe getting to a point talking about, okay, what needs to be looked at here, but I don't think it's the Fiendsmith stuff.
Fair. Sarkis, what do you think?
I think it's just one of those engines that are so long overdue on the ban list that people kind of just don't want to see them. I don't think they're overpowered because I think Power Crept made the actual decks of like Malice and Rizal, even Blue Eyes at this point, just stronger than the Fiendsmith engine. But I think Fiendsmith it's a quote unquote healthy engine for like rogue decks and tier 2 and below decks to compete, but also just kind of annoying. I'm kind of sick of just seeing those cards around anyway, so I'd be happy if they were gone. It's kind of similar to cash cards. They're not really strong anymore, but they're just like, you're kind of bored of them. You want something new to eat. It's old news, right? It's a spoiled food, so they don't necessarily need to get hit, but I'd be fine if they did.
Yeah. I think that's a good perspective to have. Alan, lastly, what do you think Fiendsmith cards specifically?
Yeah, it's grand all that they're used in those tier 2 decks and whatnot. I don't know. I if they get untouched at all in this ban list, like literally no part of the the versatility or the High Wave King or the core itself gets touched, I'll be very surprised. But if they go with the route of banning the way they go into a lot of decks, like by those bridges we're talking about, like Scython Knight and Moon of the Closed Heaven, you have to ban both of them, or it's not really gonna. It's like kind of favoring like one versus the other. Like
right,
either you go with rank 4 or you go Link. So if they do hit it, they got to hit both. And if they don't hit those, we always talk about Konami wanting their bread. So I think at most they put Engraver to 2. I really don't see him Like even though like 1, if you really want to hurt the deck, it would be to 1, but I could see 2 at most because knowing Konami. But yeah, it's like give or take. I could see it going either way, honestly, because they haven't. Yes, Fiendspell Ryziel is still in TCG. I feel like it's still people still have it over Pure a lot of like when you hear other people talk about like the meta right now, but still, like, I think it's not like it's a beatable deck. Like it's not too crazy.
Also,
Yeah.
just to add on real quick, if we do get a ban list before Stampede, I think Fiendsmith will get hit. If we get a ban list after Stampede, it's 100% going to get hit because reprints that could come through, they get their bag with all the purchases and all that. You know, like if Engraver gets a QCR reprint and whatever might... Actually, I guess it wouldn't, right? Because I got a main deck.
Yeah.
Or main core. Yeah, but if it does get reprinted in Stampede, it's over. Like, if you have any of them, sell them immediately. But until then, who knows? Just timing of it.
Yeah. I think there's 3 realistic like ways that they hit Fiendsmith. You know, they either hit the Fiendsmith cards themselves with like an engraver limit or a track limit or something like that. They hit the bridges, or you know, I think realistically, I think the most that we see is like maybe they hit the bridges, but I think Wave Hiking Caesar might be donezo. I think that card is wide. That engine is so splashed so heavily because people aren't wanting to make Desiree. Like that's so much investment, and you're ruining kind of the longevity of that engine by doing that. But people are totally okay to make a Necroquip, summon the Engraver, make a Wave Hiking Caesar. And I think if they did that, then you'd see the splashability go down quite a bit, and you might see some decks still play it, but I think Wave Hiking Caesar is the reason that deck is, or that engine is played in any decks at all at this point outside of Rogue. So anyway, moving on to kind of the more speculative side of things. I think the limited list, at least for this ban list, is it's interesting. I think that I think everybody kind of has Bonfire on their radar as far as a limited card goes. But then after that, it kind of really opens up. There's a lot of power spells in this game right now. Things like the aforementioned Metaltronus, things like Crossout Designator, Triple Tactics Talents, stuff like that. And then you have the Bestials as well that people have been kind of talking about. Austin, just because of time and everything like that, let's go over a little bit of like what you think might get limited, and maybe not go as much in depth with this stuff, but what are some cards that you think are limited and some reasonings why for that?
Yeah, besides the Metaltronus, it's all the above. I mean, I would love to see a Bestial hit. It's about time. The cards have existed in the meta for too long. The talents, as anybody knows, talents can be the make or break between a half board and then just losing the game outright. So I think all the above. Metaltronus just being the outlier, I think that card is powerful enough to see a ban.
Yeah, fair enough. Where do you land on like Crossout Designator?
It's tough. I think that, like Alan had mentioned earlier, going first is just so prevalent. I would love to see a full-on ban of that card. I think a limiting is okay. But, I mean, I think if you limit that, then I'd like to see a ban on Called by the Grave. One way or the other, I think that just enabling or having cards that are enabling decks to go first when they're already powerful enough going first is just a bit too much.
Fair enough. Sarkis, where do you land? What are some limits that you're kind of having in your scope?
Overall, I think it's going to be like a X Rizel or maybe even Ice. I think X is a main issue, so I think if they hit that to 1 or 2, I think that'll do the most work. Then again, I also believe they just won't touch too many cards. We could see what the OCG did, and Dormouse might go to 1 as well. Or, I don't know. It's a little hard to say. I also kind of feel that they might not touch anything, which would be super, super funny. Unlimit some things, semi-limit some random stuff. Like, what if they, like, semi-limit Rizel Cross? Could shut down the deck entirely, you know what I mean? Or if they limit like one of the Malice traps, just for funsies. But I don't know. I think it might be like an X, maybe like a main deck Malice monster, and that might be it.
Fair. Where do you land on like the more staple-ish cards, the Bestials, Talents, Designator, things like that?
Anything like that is like a semi-limit if it's touched at all. I don't think that's like it's on Konami's radar, but I don't think it's enough to do something about it.
Fair. Alan, where do you land on these things? Oh, sorry, Sarkis, go ahead.
Oh, last thing I was going to say is I do think we'll get a ban list right before Nats. So I do kind of feel like this might be a quick little tiny touch here in the format, and then maybe a Slaughterfest right before Nats. But then again, I don't know. It's Konami. You can never predict them.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Alan, going over to you. What kind of limits are on your radar?
Bisteel Juice Worm. Guard is getting limited. I'm like 100% on that. That card's insane. Especially since we didn't even talk about Mag getting potentially banned. If Juice Worm doesn't go to 1, I mean, I'm just gonna play it at 3. But like, yeah, that card needs to go to 1. I think that card's too insane. Let's see what else on limits. I think really this is gonna decide this ban list. Hopefully we do get a ban list before Nats, so Nats meta is different a little bit. But it really is gonna tell us how Konami wants the meta to shape out, honestly. Because if they want the Ryzeo truthers to dominate the meta, they won't touch Ryzeo at all, besides a bonfire hit, right? But if they want to keep the game more competitive, but like we said, it's Konami, and also they want to keep their bread up, so they might, if they want it more competitive, they hit X to 1 now. Because in OCG, they've already done that, and they just hit Sword to 1 as well. So it really depends on what they want to do. Other than that, I could see Talents to 1, I could see Crossout to 1, both really good cards. Everyone plays them, or not everyone, but I mean, they're kind of like, you kind of should play them if you can, because I feel like those cards are literally game winning, like playing into a Talents or having the Crossout for that card that just shits, like Crossout for the Lancia or like Crossout for the Nibiru or triple Talents look at your opponent's hand. You're like, well, I just fucking lose right there. Stuff like that. It's just really swingy cards. So I mean, hitting them to 1 wouldn't be surprising to me.
Yeah. Just to kind of put in my 2 cents, I definitely agree with Drew's Worm. I think TCG is the only meta that Drew's Worm is not at 1 currently. I mean, it's an insane card. I think that the power spells, Talents, Crossout, Metal Tronus, things like that. I think we see them hit sometime this year. I think the more this conversation goes on, I could definitely see them not addressing these cards right now. But going first is such a problem in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now that and these cards helps facilitate it. Talents throwing a hand trap at your opponent that might actually get negated by like a called by or something, and then getting Talents to rip out another card from your hand is awful. I think that Talents is healthy when it's breaking boards. I don't think it's healthy when it's ripping cards out of your hand. And then things like Crossout Designator, the reason this is so much on my radar is you're seeing a lot of Ryzeo lists, because they have so much space for non-engine, they're playing one-ofs of things like Metal Tronus, things like Talents, things like that they can just cross out. And it's absolutely insane. If that card goes to 1, you kill all of that. And then Crossout's only good for like the cards that everybody's playing in their decks. Their Ash Blossoms, your Fool Losses, things like that. Instead of like being this catch-all for like anything that your opponent can do to break your board. So, like we've kind of said, there's a lot of cards that are on people's radars. Again, there's some outliers in things like Mermail. There's some Blue Eyes cards that probably deserve to get hit at some point. But who knows? But those are kind of the big ones. Is there any cards that you guys think it's maybe time for them to come off? And not necessarily like wish list, but maybe to like push support that's coming out soon or things like that. I know like, every ban list people are like, oh, Electromite, oh, Masterpiece, stuff like that. But realistically, like what card do you think realistically comes off the ban list this time around, Austin?
Well, actually, I was gonna say maybe you should open with this one, being as somebody who's kind of played the game for the long time that you have. You'd have a better idea of cards that have existed on there that might be relevant. So I would say, like, what do you think? First off,
it's tough, right? Because Master Duel has proved that Masterpiece coming off, Goblin coming off, Mermaid coming off, and we don't even have Red Eyes Dark Dragoon on the ban list, but those 3 specifically that are banned in TCG, those coming off have not facilitated to any kind of meta change in Master Duel. Granted, they're right now going through like Rhoda Snake Eyes format with like Azamina Snake Eyes and stuff like that, so that is incredibly scary, so things like Masterpiece aren't going to do anything anyway. But I don't see those cards necessarily coming off because Konami TCG likes to take things off the list to push archetypes and things coming out. I think realistically, if we're seeing something that's going to be coming off to facilitate an archetype coming out, it's probably going to be Nightmare Mermaid to facilitate Orcust coming out soon. But realistically, I think if any cards are coming off the ban list this time, it's going to be probably some of the staples. Things like Heavy Storm or I don't know, even maybe a Pointer of the Red Lotus or something. Even then, that's like pretty bonkers for going first or something like that.
What about something like Red Reboot?
I don't think Red Reboot comes off the list. They just released a trap deck, and Red Reboot is stifling for any deck that is trying to play any cards that are colored purple or magenta. You know, and with the prominence of impermanence in the meta and everything like that, like Red Reboot's never going to be dead. And then you're further killing decks like Labyrinth or the new Odeon cards, or I mean even some decks that just have like a generically good trap card, things like Daruma Cannon or the Crystron trap card, or even Malice. Like I think that Red Reboot is severely unhealthy for the game, and I think that the traps would have to be a whole they would have to redo how trap cards work before Red Reboot was at all healthy. So, kind of opening up to the rest of the group, is there any cards that you think, like, hey, this could be fun if it came off the list? It doesn't even have to be realistic at this point. Just throw out your wildest theory. Alan, go ahead and talk about Maxi.
I just thought it'd be funny if Maxi came to like 1 or 2 and just see what it would do to the meta. I don't think it'd actually do much. Everyone just play it. I mean, it's still a floodgate though. Don't get me wrong; it's the best floodgate in the game to ever be printed. I mean, in a sense of like hand trap wise. Yeah. I think. But yeah, it would just be interesting. Other than that, we already talked about like Masterpiece and stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other stuff that could come off that could like actually change the game, and I can't think of too much. I do think Heavy Storm can go to 1 though. I think that should be okay. Yeah. That's all I got.
For sure. Austin, what do you think?
I mean, I don't have anything that's substantial that goes from banned to limited or that comes off with any substantial change. So.
Yeah. I heard it said by somebody on some podcast or something, but every card can come off the ban list, and either they are absolutely game warping, like Pot of Greed, and need to get banned immediately, or like 90% of the list doesn't do anything right off the ban list. I've even heard some people talk about like fucking Halka Fibrax coming off the list, and I mean that card's absolutely bonkers, cannot come off the list, but I've seen crazier things. They unlimited Snatch Steal just to ban it at a format later, so
just became unlimited in OCG too.
That's true.
Yeah. Sarkis, do you have any kind of fun things that you would like to maybe see, or maybe like, oh, I wonder what this would do if it came back, or something like that?
I have 2 like personal wants. I would love for Ronin Tonin to come back because I love playing Swap Frog and Mermills. It's one of my favorite like mini engines. Unfortunately, it got abused in Sprite format, but it'd be like that. But that, and then one thing I would really, really have fun with is if Jin came back, or did Jin part of the Necros?
Oh yeah.
Because it's currently banned because it is a one-wave Entity's Emptiness, which is it's a little good, I guess, but it could also be fun because I love me some Necros. But I think my most like semi-realistic want is probably Pot of Prosperity. I will say this game is extremely consistent, and draw power in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is severely overpowered. But Pot of Prosperity is just one of those things that I actively use in Mermels, and if I could use 2 instead of 1, man, it would be a little too free, and I love free stuff. So,
fair.
Yeah.
Free 99.
Free 99. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, cool. And kind of to wrap up banlist talk. OCG did come out with a ban list. Was it today? Yesterday? I don't know. My days are mixed up. Today?
Pretty much today.
I don't know anything about it. I don't follow OCG meta whatsoever because it's a whole other format. But maybe one of our esteemed guests here can kind of overview what it looks like.
Yes, allow me. Today the OCG saw a limit on. No, the OCG. Oh, there's a wild animal behind you, sir. Be careful. OCG saw a limit
In the hallway.
on full ban on summon limit and artifact scythe. It saw a limit on dimensional shifter, a limit on oh my god, it's all escaping me. A limit on Dormouse, a limit on Sword Ryziel, a limit on let me put on my glasses. I had it in my head. I knew it all. I got it. Don't worry, everybody. Yeah, so we saw a limit on here's a good one. 7th Tachyon, and then we saw a return for Grass is Greener back to 1. In terms of semi-limit, we saw Fiber Jar, or is this Cyber Jar? Go back to 2, and then we saw My Friend Pearly go back to 2, and then Unlimit on Kieran, Unlimit on Performapal Monkey Board, Chronograph Sorcerer, Masterpiece, Cyber Jar, Snatch Steal, and Zodiac Barrage.
All right. Well, that's interesting. What do you guys take on that? Like, do you think that that's too much too soon if TCG adapted it, or like I said earlier, OCG is a whole other beast entirely.
The only thing TCG mirrors here, I think, at all is a monkey board, unlimit completely, and then potentially a Dormouse hit of some sort, a sword hit, if at all. I think before we get to a sword hit in TCG, we see an X hit, and then a dimensional shifter limit. I don't think we see really anything else there. Alan, you look like you got a point.
Yeah, I mean, if they hit sword in TCG before X, I need to meet John Konami and personally fucking yeah, anyways.
Personally fucking, huh?
No. I'm a taken man, a loyal taken man. I love you, Alyssa. Anyways, so Shifter going to 1 is realistic. I'm down for that. Sword, if that gets hit to 1, it'd be crazy. Tachyon's too new, not gonna happen. I could see Grass, probably not gonna happen as well.
Well, you have to remember, Grass is already at 1 here. So they went
true.
from,
You're
in OCG, the history, how it went was Grass was straight to 1, then it went to 2, and then you saw the prevalence of things like Grass Orchest, Grass Malice, which were doing really well overseas. And then now, after today, it has returned to limited.
Yeah, I mean, it's not making any waves here, at least. So, I mean, yeah, I think it'll probably just stay where it is for us. Everything else seems like kind of like whatever. Like, I think they're heading in a good direction, but also, like we've been saying, their meta is completely different than ours. Or it's not completely different, but they're just ahead because they get all the cards faster, right? And their metas are evolving.
I mean, they are different. At the end of the day, like, I think that we're missing the giant shiny cockroach in the room. The entire OCG format is kind of revolves around Maxi, and yes, it's at 2 now over there, but it's like every deck plays it. It has like a 99% rate of play in OCG, and it still, like, there are decks that never saw play over there that were tier 1 over here. Things like Unchained. That got to run rampant here because we didn't have Maxi. And then you know, like, even Blue Eyes. Even Blue Eyes was like the best deck in the game over there for a period of time. And yes, it was after a ban list that hit Ryziel and Malice, but it's just like the formats aren't 100% like comparable because of that stupid cockroach. But even with that, like, I think that there is some stuff that we can take from it. Sarkis, do you have anything to add as far as OCG stuff goes?
I will say one thing is the OCG does have Totally Awesome banned And I think that should have been a thing in TCG for a long time. So if Ryzel does have this Tachyon into Shark combo into Bahamut thing actually pick up, I think Toad will be banned in no time. So that would also help deal with some Mermail problems, because getting hand looped is one thing, but playing against a card that Omni negates whatever it wants, recurs back any type of resource, and also just enables you to kind of replay all your combos and do all that, it's just a little much. So that could happen easily.
I will also speak to that really quickly. The West really pioneered the current iteration of Mermail with the barrier statue lock, and that only just recently, like within the last month, has kind of taken off in OCG land. So I think that their ban list may have already been relatively set in stone before they realized the problem that barrier statue locking in Mermail could become, because you don't see any kind of hit to that in OCG, but that did just recently take the third spot in a larger tournament overseas. So I would be interested to see if we don't necessarily go that long without another ban list, because some of these strategies that haven't been prevalent in OCG are we are getting to a point where the OCG and the TCG, there's certain strategies amongst maybe not the most meta decks, but are mirroring each other, like in the tier 2, tier 1.5 decks, are becoming more akin to each other. So I would be interested to see a ban list potentially in like a 2-month radius for OCG to see problem cards hit, and then see what that looks like compared to TCG.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing about OCG is we know exactly when their lists are coming out because they announce it.
OCG actually cares. It's nice.
Yeah. So, looking forward, thinking about how, I think we're all kind of in agreement that some of the lingering flood rates will get hit. Things like Bonfire or X-Rizio might get hit. Realistically, where do you think the meta goes from here if the list plays out the way that we think it does?
Without a Lancia ban with Insight at the end of the month, I just don't see a world where Malice isn't the top contender. Definitely not a tier 0, but definitely a near tier 0 format. I think that it showed really quickly after Alliance Insight release in OCG that Malice, unabated by a card like Lancia, just even with Lancia at 3 there, like Malice just dominated the field. And I think that maybe the biggest thing we have going for us is a lot of the problem cards that were a problem over in OCG for a predominant Malice strategy are already hit here. Cards like Fairy Tale Snow, cards like That Grass. I think because those cards already are non-existent here, we might have a chance of seeing like what that meta will look like without Malice being at necessarily its most explosive iteration. But I just don't see a scenario where Malice, if there's any kind of Rizio hits, Malice just seems like it's going to be far and away the top contender.
Fair. Do you think any decks that aren't currently like seeing a ton of play kind of rise up to fill in space that maybe like Rizio getting knocked down kind of suffocates them out of?
See, and this is where I would actually pass it back to you, just because you are currently piloting one of my favorite strategies in the game currently that I think could really benefit from not any necessarily direct buffs to itself, but kind of a leveling of the playing field, and that's Crystron. I think that this Crystron strategy has so much going for it in the form of just what the deck is capable of doing, its level of interaction. What do you see a post ban list and where a place where Crystron kind of rises to the top of the barrel? And what would that look like? Like, what would you think would be most necessary in that regard?
I think realistically to have Crystron be like at the table of Rizio, Malice, Blue Eyes, Mermail, I think all 3 of the floodgates need to go. I think like if they were all like Dweller especially, but if like Lancia and Shifter were to go to 1 or something like that, which it is a possibility as well. But them being as prevalent in the metagame, you're facing a lingering floodgate from every single deck. Like every deck's playing Lancia. The deck that loses to Lancia is also playing Shifter. Like, and Crystron, well, it has lines to play under everything, and it doesn't turn skip the way it turn skips things like Malice. Ending Tristaro's pass is not cutting it in the year of our Lord 2025. So,
True.
I again, going back to what we are talking about with bans, I think a banning of Dweller opens up the playing field to a lot of decks. A lot of decks can deal with a Detonator. Detonator is not. It's good. It's one of the best boss monsters ever made, but it is not stifling in that it completely locks decks out of the meta. It's the fact that if it's paired next to a Dweller, that's when it starts locking things out of the meta, where you can't play out of your graveyard whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that you want to do to beat the Detonator is getting popped by the Detonator because it's all going on field anyway. So, yeah, I mean, I think that Dweller specifically is locking a lot of the meta behind playing cards that either can just beat over Detonator or are Detonator itself, you know?
Fair, well put. I will say, so one thing for me with mainly looking at Mermails is the reason why I don't want Mullen Glacier to get banned is if it does, I technically have to play the Barrier Statue engine to continue to keep up because that engine is so broken. That being said, though, I think it's one of the most degenerate, unfun engines to play against and play as well. And I would hate myself if I actually played the Barrier Statue build. But if it comes down to it, it's just how it be.
Yeah, it's how it has to be,
baby.
Yeah.
A dub's a dub. I just love going Glacia, using the body to extend your combo and do rank 7 bullshit and all that. But I don't know. I think the Barrier Statue build, like what Austin said, if the OCG had more time with the statue build, it would be on this ban list right now. But it just hasn't had time to perform yet.
Mm-hmm.
But given time, I don't know. I think there's already a Barrier Statue on the ban list, no? I think the Win one is on
the
there.
Win one, correct. That is both in TCG and OCG.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised very soon if that got hit. That's an actual issue. I think that's a sleeper pick that hasn't been represented yet.
For sure. Alan, any kind of last thoughts about meta going forward or anything like that?
No, man. I just hope they drop it sooner rather than later. Yeah, I mean, I'm really in the zone to like, because I've just started playing Malice as well. And yeah, I'm excited to learn a new deck and then play in a new format. I think, like this format, it's getting a little stale. What?
Keep going, Alan.
I can't hear.
I think maybe his headphones cut out.
Oh, okay. But yeah, just excited for a new format and to keep playing and getting better with everyone here at Resurgence. So yeah, so
hell yeah. Let's do it.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's kind of what we got going on. I think all of us are kind of tired of the format. We could use a little shake up. Even if some of us are really excited for it. I was going to say, like, even if you're super excited for the new Malice support and things like that, like, I'm sure that you're ready to move on and at least see Dweller outside and take him out back.
Nope.
So,
Dweller who?
Dweller who?
So kind of ending off, Austin, where can people find you if they like what you got going on and just want to see more of
it's gonna be
your Drake personality?
All right, I was trying to talk over you so you didn't have to do the Drake reference. It's not as cool as it once used to be compared to Drake. Anyways, I don't look anything like that guy. I'm
compared to the goat, huh?
You goat. A goat of what? Anyways, Chris Hansen, where are you at? Ladies and gentlemen, if you are looking to find me, you can find me on Twitch. That's going to be Twitch at Assassin by Day. That's going to be ASSASINBDYAY. Yes, I know it is spelled incorrectly. Please don't judge me. Twitch won't release the proper spelling because apparently it has too many asses in it. Bam. Otherwise, you can find me on Discord at Assassin by Day, Twitter at Assassin by Day, spelled correctly. Yeah, look for me on there. One day, and hopefully before the sun explodes into a red dwarf and we all die of inevitable heat death, I will stream again.
Fire.
But don't hold your breath.
But don't hold your breath.
Sarkis, where can people find you if they want to reach out and be wet with you?
Yeah, I mean, low key, just click on the little channel button down below, Resurgence YGO, and you'll see a little deck profile from me. So that's all you need to know. I'll be there. You have a question? You let me know.
I'm pointing to
He
a button
responds
that
to
doesn't
every single
actually exist yet.
Hell yeah. Oh, don't forget to subscribe as well. I mean, obviously.
Hit that bell if you want to get notified.
Hell no. Yeah,
Fair. Alan, where can people find you?
Of course, here on Resurgence YGO. If you're looking for me, I've seldomly, as I'm trying to finish pharmacy school, I seldomly stream, but I'm pretty good at TFT. And I play Valorant there sometimes with friends too. Sorry, my brothers are screaming in the bathroom. It sounds like a dying cow. Anyways,
they're hyped for the TFT, you know?
Yeah. That's just Yawn. It's just Yawn, and then TFT on Twitch, Yawn TFT, and yeah, mainly here.
Perfect.
Here. How about you, Caleb?
You can find me. I run another podcast as well. Has absolutely nothing to do with Yu-Gi-Oh. Everything to do with internet horror series SCPs. That is on Spotify and YouTube at SCPod, SCPOD. I run that with my good friend Zach, and we release that every other week at this point. So if you like kind of the nonsense that I get up to on here, it's even more harebrained over there. In the meantime, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe.
Till next time, anything and stand by. All right, peace, guys.